Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's Better on Draft.
Welcome, everybody. This is episode 9, I believe, of the Michigan series. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. It is March 12th, 312 day. Hopefully, you guys are drinking some Goose Island out there, having fun, because tomorrow's 313 days, so you get a chance to drink some Detroit beer. I'm going to go a day early. I got myself Autonomous Collective, the alt beer from Batch Brewing. This has definitely got a little age on it, simply because it's been a minute since they brewed it, but that's okay because I love me some alt beers. We got some co-hosts in tow. Nicholas, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. It's Friday
It
and I'm
is
not working.
must be nice. What are you drinking over there?
Well, going back to his 100 and something episodes ago, I'm double fisting. I got the Parish Cane Break, the Louisiana Wheat Ale, and then something from my brother-in-law that he just pawned off on me, the Odd Side Ales Shamone, the Kettle Sour New England IPA.
All right. We also got Wendy. How you doing?
I'm fantastic.
I'm
Also
I'm
happy that it's Friday.
I'm happy to see if everyone's watching on video, betterondraft.tv or facebook.com/betterondraft. You have stuff behind you now.
I do. My sister has been working very hard this week to make my office actually look like I work in it.
Well, speaking of
So I really appreciate it when
being in an office, what are you drinking in this office?
I got this really awesome mug from Michigan Awesome for St. Patrick's Day. So I poured myself a little Guinness, and I also am pulling a Nick and got a blackberry PB&J leaf from Elk Brewing.
Still one of the beers that I cannot get behind over at Elk Brewing. Love their peanut butter stout though, so I'll accept that. Robert, how you doing?
Doing all right, man.
Chilling. What are you drinking over there?
Right now, I am drinking some dope beer, the Bougie Sweet Potato Pie Stout from Black Calder, because everybody needs to just completely step over and hang out with the bougiest grandma that's around. So that's what it is.
All right. Well, we have a guest in our virtual studio tonight, all the way from Macomb County. We have Andy from CapNCork Brewing and Home Brewing Shop. How you doing today, Andy?
Fantastic.
What is it you're drinking over there?
I currently have the CapNCork Windy Blonde. It's our Belgian blonde, nice and malty, like 6%ish.
Now, we last spoke in 2018. The brewery was a glimpse in your eye. It wasn't necessarily ready to go. It wasn't open yet. Why don't you give us an update that's happened over the past 2.5 years? What's going on over at CapNCork? And for those of you that are listening that want to go over there, why don't you tell us how they can go drink over there too?
So all the things, got it. So the brewery officially opened in October of 2019. And things were going fantastic. We were open for 6 whole months, and then this pandemic thing happened and shut everything down. So we literally just opened back up last week. We've been doing cans to go during the whole pandemic. The homebrew store, we just started letting customers in about 2 weeks ago. The homebrew store is doing fantastic. I'm seeing customers that I haven't seen in 5-10 years and getting a lot of new customers because people got time on their hands with the pandemic happening. And so they're brewing. I got a huge uptick in distillers at the homebrew store. And then as far as the brewery, so the homebrew store is open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5. You can do online orders for curbside pickup. You can come on in and shop, and we'll take care of you there. We're limited to 2 groups of customers at a time. Obviously, you have to have your mask, all that fun stuff. And then the brewery, we are open Thursday through Saturday. I always get this wrong. I'm going to get it right. 5 to 10 p.m. Reservations only. You got to do reservations 24 hours in advance. I got a small staff. It's just 3 of us. So we're just trying, and we're only at half capacity, which for us is approximately 24 people. So we just want to make sure we're staffed properly and have everything that you guys need to take care of you. But it's great to be open again. Last weekend we had a really good turnout for people. It was great to see some of our regulars that we were starting to build before the rug got yanked out from under us. But it's been good. So we're hanging in there, constantly adapting, changing things. We're working on making the we call it the tasting lounge or the above ground basement. We got a whole like 70s basement vibe going on. So we are working on making it available for rent, so you can rent the whole above ground basement. It's we call it the home of the original above ground basement. So you can come by and check that out, reach out to us, and we'll get that all going. And yeah, it's been obviously challenging, but we're just constantly adapting and going with that.
I want to ask one question because you brought up a point, and I don't know. Obviously, this is something that we saw, or I've seen over at the Saugatuck Brewery, and with Michigan's laws being so back asswards. What about like how would it be if you guys were able to set up your own like homebrew day where someone or a group or a team, like if I worked at a business, could come over there and brew beer on your system? Because obviously you have a natural brewery system there, but have you ever thought of setting something up since you have obviously everything there, all the ingredients and everything you need?
Yeah, that was one of the things that we were planning on doing pre-pandemic. Doing events with other people at this point is kind of, because you got to distance out and it's minimum 6 and all the things. It's kind of a non-starter, at least at this point. But that literally could change tomorrow. Like case in point, like I was all set up to open the tasting lounge last week and at 25% capacity, and did a whole bunch of promo stuff and was releasing all that, and did that on Monday. And on Wednesday, it was announced that I could do half capacity and be open an hour later. So it's just, you never know what's going to change or how things are going to come about.
Yeah, I think, one of the big things with brewers is just you have to adapt. Restaurants as a whole, but breweries, when your lifeblood is the beer that you're making, and a lot of people don't even have food to serve. They're worried about it. But I know Nick is the next question up to ask.
Just love putting me on the spot now, don't you, Kevin?
Hey, I sent you the.
I'm kidding. I'm being sarcastic. So, someone who's been drinking beer a long, long time, never really had an interest up until maybe a few years ago about wanting to brew their own beer. So say, for example, you get someone brand new to your shop, wants to brew beer, but doesn't know where to begin. How does someone like myself, now that I actually have a basement to actually store the stuff, because originally I didn't, I had a slab for a house originally. How do you get someone who's never brewed beer before, who wants to brew beer? What kind of conversation does that even entail to get someone like myself who's never brewed anything in his life to get into brewing beer? And what kind of setup do you recommend for that?
It's a short, I mean, it can be as long or short for conversation as you want it to be. I mean, the line we always say about just the hobby of homebrewing is you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want it. So you could come in, we have a prepackaged equipment kit, we have prepackaged ingredients, and you can take that home and successfully make beer right out of the gate. We always joke that like we'll guarantee your first 3 batches. Like you'll be 100% happy with those, because the most important thing with homebrewing is cleaning and sanitizing. And
Yes.
Your first couple batches, you're going to be meticulous about them. You're going to be super stressed about all of it. It's a lot to take in, and you're just going to clean the living shit out of everything. I hope I could say living shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're going to do that. But by that 4th, 5th batch, you got a little cocky. You've made 3 good beers that you really like. You might skip a step. So, or 2, right?
Rob's giving 2 fingers if you're watching this on video,
but yeah, so it's not difficult, and again, we'll spend as much time. And now that we're able to have customers back in the store, it's a lot easier to have that conversation. But we're also, our location, we have a covered walk out front. So even in the winter when it was pretty bad, we were having conversations out front with people and hooking people up and setting it up. It's not hard. And Ken had brought up, how breweries are, trying to adapt to stay open. I'm really lucky in the fact that I have the home brewing store, and I've been able to really lean on that and have support of all those customers, and just kind of put the brew in a back burner until everything's kind of been safe and it's getting better. And that's where we're at right now.
Sure. So when you get that new home brewer who wants to start, do you try to tell them to start off with something simple when it comes to making that first beer, or do you just tell them whatever tickles your fancy, go for it? Because I'm looking at your beer kits, for example. You have many different varieties of a beer for that. Someone like myself, I'm just gonna pick one that caught my attention. Blarney Stone Red.
Sure.
So I love reds. Reds, I enjoy a good red every once in a while. Do you kind of say stick with something simple, or do you let them, or does the kit kind of make it, easy for them to be able to, be cocky for the first 3 batches, so to speak?
We have 60 plus starter ingredient kits that are prepackaged. Every single one of them is an ale. So you're fermenting that at room temp.
Okay.
And the only difference would be something that's like a higher alcohol. You're going to just need a little more time. So I might steer you away from that unless you have the patience. But that's the one thing that we don't sell is patience. So you have to be able to wait that out. And so I might steer you away from a higher alcohol beer because it would be okay right away. But it's going to be a lot better if you give it the proper aging. So that could be your second or third. But anything else like that Blarney Stone Red, that's a super popular one, and it you could easily make it at home. All of them, none of them are harder to make than the others. It's just more the time factor than anything.
So if it's someone like me who just wants to get in there and just start drinking it the moment that it's ready, what would you recommend is a good first one to kind of?
That we always recommend is our Hefeweizen, like a German Hefeweizen. Nice. And the other thing with that's phenomenal is that you can have that ready for all intents and purposes in a week if you were kegging, 3 weeks if you were bottling it, and it'll probably, as long as you do everything right, it's probably going to be the best Hefeweizen you've ever drank, because Hefeweizens are made to be drank young, and you're rarely going to get that available in a glass or a can or a bottle when you're buying. So, yeah.
As someone that wants to follow up real quick on that, why is there a difference between kegging and bottling? As imagine, if you will, many of our listeners aren't home brewers.
Sure.
So what's the difference between the two?
So the advantage, with bottling, you're naturally carbonated. So if you've ever, I can't even think of a beer that's naturally carbonated commercially, but some of those beers that end up with sediment in the bottles where they're bottle conditioned, what you're doing is you're introducing additional sugar and you're letting carbonation occur naturally in that bottle. That takes time. That takes about 2 to 3 weeks at room temperature. With kegging, it's one vessel, and you have the advantage of a CO2 setup where you can force that CO2 in the solution and really have it ready to drink in about 24 hours if you want.
Wendy, you're up next.
Mute. Where you at?
You're still on mute, Wendy.
Still on mute, Wendy.
There we
Is
go.
that better? All
There
right.
we go.
Sorry. I was trying to share the link. So my question is, and I'm actually glad that I was next, because I'm curious as to what type of equipment you would need as a brand new home brewer.
So we have a starter equipment kit. The main things you need essentially you need, and there's a couple different ways you can go about it, but what we recommend is a food grade bucket to primary ferment in, a secondary fermenter, which is usually a glass jug or carboy as we call it. It's usually 5 gallons. You could do plastic if you wanted to go that route as well. And then just your cleaner, your sanitizer, your siphoning equipment, and all of that's prepackaged in our starter equipment kit. The only things that we don't include are a kettle, which a lot of people will have it at home already, because everything we're setting you up with is to do on your stovetop to start. You do like a 20-quart pasta kettle, which is essentially 5 gallons. You'd be doing a partial boil where you would be on your stovetop, and then you would just need your bottles and a capper to put the caps on. Again, that's not included, but overall that's everything you need. And then again, like I was saying, you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want. You can get like all the bells and whistles where like you can make it insanely easy and have, hook up your laptop and, push a button to make everything do that, but you're talking thousands of dollars to do something like that. But you could do something on the easier end and make a nice, simple, easy drinking beer, on the simple, very simple. So, yeah.
So I'm on a budget. I really want to try it, but I'm scared that I am not going to like it. What would like the basic budget be to start out to try it
If you
out?
were to go in all basic, you're looking at about 150 to 200 bucks.
Okay.
You could go the 1 gallon because the standard for beer is 5 gallons, which makes 2 cases of 12-ounce bottles. You could go the 1 gallon route, which gives you 12 bottles. But the analogy I always use with that is it's like trying to bake one cookie versus baking a batch of cookies, because all the ingredients that you're using are geared towards a 5-gallon batch. So when you try to make a gallon, you're like taking portions of those, and you need to be precise with those measurements. We're getting into kind of like a baking kind of thing, and your success rate isn't going to be as great. And then the other downside too, if you go the gallon route, is once you are successful and want to jump up to 5 gallons, that $150, $200 that I was talking about, you're still going to have to spend all that because
Right.
the majority of the stuff you have isn't going to make it to the 5-gallon realm. So 5 gallons is kind of the standard. I don't know. I always mean to look up why they chose 5 gallons, but that's just how it's been since Charlie Papazian started homebrewing in the 70s. So
That's interesting. Rob?
And I would say for Charlie Papazian that probably a part of that kit should be the book as well, because I feel like that definitely gives a lot of information as well as going into home brewing. But I was curious about, with the kits, and as I was putting up the 2 fingers and being cocky that I had made two brews myself and did a pretty good job. And then I ran into a little beer from a Virginia brewery called The Veil that did a imperial stout with Oreo cookies. And I thought, oh, I can do this. And apparently did not pay attention to the science of making a beer, and not necessarily knowing that you should not put Oreos in a batch of beer while it's fermenting, because it seems to cause some issues with oils and things that will break beers down. But I was curious about the kits that you have, and that, talking about beers like that, where you see other beers that are being made that people kind of fawn over and look for, from that to Zombie Dust to Dark Lord to all these other beers that are out there. Are any of your kits going into any type of clones of beers that are already out there, or are they more toward the beers that you already serve, in the tap house?
no, it's a little of both, and also the equipment kit does include a beginner's guide. It's not the Papazian book, but it does have a beginner's guide.
Okay.
So some of our kits are absolute clone recipes that people. I mean, if you kind of look through it, they're thinly, like we have our Lunar Wit, which is our Blue Moon clone. We have our M59, which is our M43 clone. And I'm trying to think off the top. So yeah, we absolutely have clones available, and we have the you could come in and say, hey, I want to make this beer, I really like it. We most likely are going to have a clone recipe available, or can find one and put that together for you. Because even though they're kits and they're prepackaged, the only reason why they're kits and prepackaged is it's just kind of the tried and true recipes that sell the best. It makes our lives easier to hand you boxes, so we don't have to like grab everything and have you hang out for 15, 20 minutes while we're trying to put everything together.
Right.
But we can absolutely do that because we have everything that you would need to make that beer. So
right. And with the kits, I pretty much imagine that I was looking on the site. I'm guessing based on the price point that these are all malt extracts. But I was curious with making these kits, that would you prefer that everybody do like malt to start, or do you want them to just kind of jump in and just do all grain and figure it out?
I mean, honestly, I feel like malt extract to do a batch or two just to get the basics of the process is a really good way to get started. Malt extract beers, I feel like they get a bad rap, especially the quality of the ingredients nowadays is like I've been working I've owned CapNCork for almost 9 years. I've been working at CapNCork for almost 15 plus. And the quality of all the ingredients and everything that's available right now, it's the best it's ever been. So extract beer, you get a little more advantage with the all grain where you get a little more control and everything, but there's just extra steps as a beginner that there's already all this information that you've never done, all these things that you've never done that you're trying to take in. The extract just kind of like levels it off and makes it easy and gives you a good, easily drinkable beer. And then you can kind of get the basics of the process. And then if you want to make that jump to, I've had customers who have made one extract batch and then made the jump to all grain and have had no issues. And the beauty of buying that equipment from us is everything that you get for that equipment starter kit, even though you're doing extract to start, you just need to buy a couple more things to do the all grain thing. Everything else you have is going to apply for all grain brewing as well. So it's just kind of like steps. I feel like and the one joke we always make too is I feel like every home brewer should have to bottle at least one batch of beer before they get into kegging, because you have to clean and sanitize 48 to 50 bottles. And you got to earn your stripes. You can't just throw it in one keg and drink it a day later. It's I feel like it's cheating.
Yes. Bottle cleaning is a labor of love. I would just put it at that. Although I kind of feel like I would rather clean 48 bottles than clean a 5-gallon carboy, because for some reason I just can't. It's like trying to put a damn a ship in a bottle, because it's just.
Well, like, and with that said, I have not bottled a batch of beer in easily 13 years. So, but I've earned my stripes.
Earned his stripes. All right, I'm going to pass it back to Ken here.
I love the discussion, because I think a lot of people have, like Wendy and Nick, have always wanted to homebrew beer, but never really pulled the trigger. Like for me, I was able to I came into, like, Toast laid me off, so I had a bunch of time, and I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do? So I brewed a beer. So I did the first the amber that comes with the Northern Brewer, I believe is the name of the company. So I got the Northern Brewer kit. But my next beer, I did an English mild, and I working on everything, I made probably every mistake in the book of brewing. Like I free flowed from my fermenting container to the bottling, like so many things that I did wrong. Do you guys do any type of training or tutelage that helps with new brewers that might be looking to create their first batch after the starter kit? Because the starter kit's pretty, at least for a Northern Brewer, is pretty like, this is what you do in every single step. But when you start bringing in, like I brought in a bunch of different hops and a bunch of different extracts and different different things, so it was a lot different. So I didn't know how to perfectly, like, I made the mistake of bottling without carbonating. Like I didn't do any carbonation with sugars or anything, so I wound up capping everything, uncapping everything, dropping pellets into it, the carbonation pellets, and recapping. What do you guys offer for training, tutelage, support, I guess would be the proper term?
Well, I think your first problem was you bought from, we don't like to say the word you said a couple times, the Walmart of home brewing. We don't like to mention those guys. But that was your first mistake, is buying stuff from them, because they just sell you the stuff and that's it.
Okay.
We'll answer phone calls, emails, Facebook messages. We'll spend as much time as we can with you. Pre-COVID, we did offer classes. It's a little difficult right now because I can only seat 6 people, and I gotta space everybody out. And even though I have a small space, and I can talk very loud, it would be a very trying way to make the classes happen. So hopefully, as things get better, and with COVID and whatnot, we'll be able to start having classes back. We offer classes, but I mean, we'll spend as much time and answer every single question that you have, and we even answer questions for people who've made the mistake that you made. who bought the stuff from them, and we spend all the time with them and help them sort out, their Walmart of homebrewing purchases, and make sure they're on the right path to make beer correctly, and then they start buying stuff from the store.
I want to give a proper shout out. The Ann Arbor Brewers Guild is a group that I participate in just because I'm in Ypsilanti now, and they were very making obvious mistakes. They weren't douchey about it, and very like, hey, it looks like you're new. Let's get you to learn correctly, as opposed to, knocking you down a few steps for being such a introductory person. So, one thing I want to appreciate from them, I want to give two quick shout outs real quick to our sponsors, Zutuna Liquor over in Rochester Hills, just south of M59 on Rochester Road, and North Center Brewing over in Northville, Michigan, just south of Baseline Road, over on North Center Road. We appreciate them sponsoring us. My next question is, I want to get more into the brewery, because we were talking before we went live, and your four beers that are your standard, not rotation, your flagships. Why don't you tell us what they are and why you kind of went with the four that you went with?
Sure. So I learned early on that trying to make what your flagship is, I wasn't going to say these are my flagships. That 6 months we were open, we let the customers dictate what our flagships were. And the four that we kind of came across were our El Toro Light, which is just a nice, simple cream ale. That's a nice, easy drinker. That actually we were brewing also for the Wooden Valve in New Baltimore. That was kind of they renamed it made it their Wooden Valve brand, and we were brewing that for them as well. We have our German Amber Ale, which is essentially an alt beer. That Kevin, one of my employees who's been here the longest, came up with that recipe. It's a nice, malty, toasty, wonderful alt beer. We have an IPA that we've been rotating through. We just brewed a new one that we're really happy with, and hopefully that sticks. It's got pale ale malts and a lot of the new Michigan hops from Hang'em High Hops in Free Soil, Michigan, which are pretty cool hops. And then we have, what was the other one?
Simple Stout.
The Simple Stout, but that's only three, right? I feel like there's a
Simple Stout, cream ale, alt beer, IPA.
So yeah, we have our Simple Stout, which is exactly that. It's just a straight Irish stout with three different malts. It has Bear's Otter, flaked barley, and roasted malt.
Now, I've been to the Wooden Valve a handful of times. Really sneaky good whiskey collection. So if you're looking for a really good whiskey or beer, like if you're a whiskey drinker, definitely go check them out for sure. They did not pay me to say that. This is just me telling you this. I want to go back though, because I'm curious, as a fan of alt beers, and have been since day one. Why do you think you said the customers chose the alt beer as the flagship? Why do you think people chose that?
Well, part of it, one of the more interesting things is, notice it's not called an alt beer. It's our German Amber Ale is what we call it. We had a couple different names that had alt in it, did not sell at all. As soon as we changed the name, exact same beer, people really liked it. So that's one thing I've definitely learned going through this. Even with the kits, like just before the brewery even existed, the German Amber Ale was a kit that we had, and initially we called it alt something or whatever. As soon as we started calling it German Amber Ale, everybody started making it, loving it. So we started making it in the brewery, and the majority of stuff that we're making are kits that you can buy in the homebrew store. But yeah, I feel like it's just a nice, smooth, easy drinker that as long as they have an idea that they don't have to process what alt means and all that, and that comes from Dusseldorf and all that craziness, and it's just a nice, smooth, malty, caramely, toasty, easy drinker. They're gonna like it. So,
do you think we get a lot of that issue with some of the not non-traditional styles, more traditional styles, like your English mild or your ESB? Like, people get scared of a name or a style when they don't even necessarily understand it?
1,000%. I see it on the homebrew side and the brewery side all the time. Like, I love English bitters, I love ESBs, if I ever brew an ESB or an English bitter, I'm never in a million years calling it an English bitter or an ESB.
Why do you think it has such a negative connotation?
I think there's just a lot to take in with it. It's a thing that I'm constantly trying to figure out. But like, I have customers come in and they'll look at the kits or they'll read the menu and they're like, man, that sounds really good. And in my estimation, the name and the description doesn't tell you anything about the beer, but they somehow attach themselves to something within the description or the name. But when they see things like bitter or like a classic English, like they're maybe thinking warm beers and whatnot. I don't know. Like it's just there's that old world thing, I think, and they're just like, well, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't know what that's going to be. It doesn't seem like anything good. And they've also probably never had it, so you got to like kind of ease them into it, and then say, hey, you're drinking an ESB right now.
We've seen this on a national stage with Alaskan Amber, which is technically a German alt beer.
Right, yeah.
We also see it on a local stage, which the ESB over at Saugatuck, they changed its name. I don't remember what it is. This would be a Matt Bush answer if he's listening right now. But we
Ghetto Blaster too. That's another one.
Ghetto Blaster. I mean, that's I feel like we get that as a Metro Detroiter that. It's one of those beers that we just accept as our own, almost like Faygo. Like, right. I think Ghetto Blaster is the Faygo of beer in the sense to where people will drink it because they know it's something different, but it's Detroit. And I think a lot of people, almost like Better Made too. I mean, Jesus, all the things that Better Made puts out these days. I'm gonna pass it off because I think Nick's got another question for you.
So you also sell wine equipment that I've noticed. Was wine always part of the store, or is that something that you got into recently? How did the wine portion become part of the home brewing store?
It's always been a part of the store.
Always been.
Oh. And we do wine in the brewery as well.
Okay.
And we're just making all of their wine kits. It's there's 2 different companies in Canada that make them. And honestly, it's easier than beer. And the thing is once you get into home brewing, once you have that equipment, you pretty much have all the equipment you need for wine. You just need a couple different little things to make the switch to wine. They make 30 bottles at a time. We always say you're overqualified if you can make Kool-Aid. So it sounds like it's super easy, and it is. But it makes phenomenal wine, and they're all from concentrate. So you're adding a little water. There's a couple steps that you're doing, but I mean, the beauty of it is it's available all through the year. It's consistent. They apply all the wine science, if you will, to it. So make sure everything's balanced in the acidity. Because the other option for home winemakers is buckets of juice, and you can buy a 6-gallon bucket of juice from California. That is just that. It's a bucket of juice from Cabernet grapes, Pinot grapes, whatever, from California. They've done no science to you for it. They're expecting you to do that. Nobody does. They add some yeast, if they even add yeast. They just might do it like they do in the old world and just let it ferment. And sometimes it turns out great, sometimes it doesn't. Our wine kits turn out great every time. And the beauty of our kits, too, is both companies 100% guarantee the kits. So even if you make a really stupid mistake and add packet 4 when you weren't supposed to add it, they'll replace it and you get a new kit.
Now, I remember at the beginning of the show when we introduced you talked about that there's distilling also at the store too. Now, are you selling kits to make like a vodka or something like that too?
So distilling's illegal in the United States on a federal level. So essentially, and I'm not, this isn't even like a line or whatever. I understand fermentation and how to create alcohol.
Okay.
I understand the bare bones basics of distilling. But
sure.
The thing with distilling, and there's everybody distill. There's a ton of people with distill.
Yeah.
Distilling is really hard.
Sure.
Anybody can make, White Lightning and have that and, drink it to go blind if you want to go that way. But
Now, I don't want to go blind. No, I'd
but
rather not.
there's definitely a lot more science that you need to apply to it, and to make a good drinkable product, it's really difficult on a small scale like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're gonna pass it over to Wendy. It looks like she has the next one.
So I was actually doing some research because I figured out how to put two windows up on my computer today.
Ooh.
That was kind of a joke. Um, about the why we brew in 5 gallon batches.
Okay.
And there's not a lot of anything official out there. But I did find a strand on Reddit that talks about adopting soda kegs, which
Yep.
are in 5 gallons. That because we use carboys, and that was already a 5 gallon size apparently.
Right.
And then it makes 2 cases of beer.
Right.
But the thing that I saw that was most that seems to be the most makes the most sense is that 5 gallons is something that most people can carry around easily.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, yeah, the soda kegs, that's definitely a thing because before, soda now is the bag in the box. Like you see it like McDonald's, 7-Eleven, all that. It's just the box where it's the concentrate and they put the carbonated water through. But back in the day, they used to, you would get a 5 gallon, do I have one laying around? A 5 gallon keg of soda. And that's how they would do it. And there's Pepsi kegs and there was Coke kegs. Of course, because, they're two different companies, they had different fittings because you had to make sure that you couldn't put Coke in a Pepsi keg and Pepsi in a Coke keg. But then those went the way of the dodo, and homebrewers figured that out and started snatching those up. And now we're to the point in homebrewing where those are getting hard. They're definitely still available. But I remember when I first started working at CapNCork, we were selling used 5 gallon corny kegs for $16 a keg. I'm currently selling them for $65 a keg, 15 years later.
Interesting.
And it's because they're harder and harder to find, and you just, as far as a used keg goes, there's only so many available.
So that brings me to my next question, which is, what is the most interesting piece of do-it-yourself equipment that you have seen used in homebrewing?
Man, that's it's a great question. We've seen some. I mean, I've seen some setups where being in Metro Detroit, we have a lot of engineers, obviously, and we've seen. I've seen some homebrew systems that are just like they're nicer than the brew system that I have at the brewery right now. They're fully automated where they're hooking their laptop up, where they've written code to do all the things. That's it, it's just been it's crazy. And like I said, I don't think I've said this yet, but the brewery itself, we're trying to stay true to our homebrew roots. We're only doing 15 gallons at a time. It's a pretty basic brew system that most people have at their house. Like it's a little amped up, but nothing near. Like I said, there are definitely homebrewers who have cooler, more involved home brew systems than I have in the brewery here where I'm selling it. So.
And what is your what is the I'm trying to think of the way to put this. What is the favorite recipe that you have created on your own?
One of my most favorites, it was kind of a happy accident early on in the brewery. We have a beer called Lithuanian Black Metal. And what it was second runnings from our chocolate milk stout because we just had enough sugar left over. I was like, all right, we'll brew something with this. And Omega Yeast had this new yeast called Lithuanian Farmhouse Ale yeast. It's kind of on the level of the Kvik yeast and that whole trend, but it's a little more farmhousey and like funky than the Kvik. And we essentially took those second runnings and used that yeast with a little bit of candy sugar to amp up the alcohol a little bit. And we came up with this nice, lightly roasted, dark, easy drinking, slightly funky beer that we've probably brewed that one, I think, the most out of all our beers. It's probably the next closest thing we have to like our fifth flagship. Like I could probably like alternate between the simple stout and the Lithuanian black metal, and I don't think anything.
Sounds interesting. Rob?
All right, so a couple things. I guess I'll start with this one now. Obviously, with home brewing that has kind of taken off in the last few years, and where we are now with having to deal with the virus, and still only at 50% capacity. That home brewing, I kind of feel would be something that would have taken off throughout this whole 13 months / 15 years of what it feels like of being in this virus, of being able to, not being able to go out and have beer but brew it at home. Now, I just saw a report today that was talking about how, despite the fact that we were sitting in the time of the virus, that the ratings of watching sports completely went down, despite the fact that it seemed like it was something where there would be an outlet of something to be able to watch and do while we're stuck at home. Now that we're getting to a point where we're starting to get out and hopefully get to whatever we can call as normal in the next few months, do you think that home brewing may see a bit more of a spike and like a decline in people doing home brewing once we start to get out more?
I think it's a possibility. I mean, pre-COVID, the hobby of homebrewing was down big time anyways. And that's part of the reason why we opened the tasting lounge and the brewery, was to just have another way to get people in and kind of teach them about homebrewing. Because the whole goal of the brewery was never to just have it be an everyday brewery. It was to have it be an education-based, like, tap room kind of a deal, where you can come in, try different things, you can take that stuff home and make it, all those things. I mean, I think what I think is on the horizon for us is kind of the new Roaring 20s. I should trademark that right away. But I think once everything is back to whatever the new normal is, I think people are going to be chomping at the bit to be in tasting rooms and breweries and that kind of thing. I don't know about making stuff at home. I mean, like I said, I was telling Ken, I think before we started, that we got a good chunk of new customers during the pandemic. But the thing that I was seeing most was customers that I hadn't seen in 5-10 years were like full back all in to brewing. So where with the hobby down and all those people gone, we were kind of back to where things, because the peak was probably literally when I bought CapNCork in 2012. That was the peak of home brewing, and then I just kind of watched it decline as I was a new business owner, which was fun. But adapted and created the brewery and the tasting lounge and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I think home brewing, I think there's going to be two types of people coming out of the pandemic. It's going to be people who just want to do all the things and like go to all the places. And then there's going to be the people who are like, I'm going to ease back into it. And that could be positive for the home brewing side of things. I think the people easing back in might like, you know what, I'm going to open my own bar in the basement and have my neighbors over.
Well, let's kind of go around. What do you guys feel on a personal level? Like, are you guys, and we'll kind of go around and ask everyone the same question, but are you guys after, let's pretend, they expect vaccine beginning of May, everyone. Therefore, end of June, started of July, we got the holiday in July 10th, my birthday. So let's say by July 10th, everyone's vaccine. We got, crowd control, or crowd control is not the right word. What is it? Oh my God, Rob, you're laughing, but you're not helping.
Because it's just fun to see you struggle right now.
Because I'm stuck on crowd control and population control.
And everyone's going to be vaccinated
on July 10th.
Immunity, herd immunity. Crowd control, herd immunity, sure.
Herd immunity.
July 10th. Are you guys itching to get out, or are you going to be like, I don't know quite yet? Because based on, from what I know, I don't think any of us caught it. so far. I don't think any of us has gotten the vaccine yet. Andy, you mentioned you got it, or Nick's got it. So
Yeah, I got one dose. Got to get the next dose on the 31st.
are you guys going out and partying? Like, are you? Someone says, "Hey, I'm vaccinated. You're vaccinated. Let's go watch Matchbox 20 live." Are you saying yes or no?
I mean, at this point, I'm still waiting to get vaccinated. I may
You've
have.
been vaccinated in this situation, and you've gone 2 weeks after shot 2.
I don't even have shot 1, so I'm still waiting on that.
It's a hypothetical. Come on, you gotta play the game.
You're not very good.
We're in fantasy world here.
If we get through it, then yeah. I mean, for the most part, I'm going to be out anyway because I'm going to be out hosting trivia at my venues. So, I'm going to be out whether I kind of want to or not. So I'm going to be out working.
All right, Rob, you're no fun. Nick.
Gosh.
I mean, you could say you're still hesitant. There's nothing wrong.
I mean, if we
you got a baby, you ain't doing shit.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was one of the reasons why I even got it. I got it offered through work. I wasn't even on the radar, and then it just magically said, Nick, you can get it. You say the word, you can come right now and get it. I'm like, oh, yes, I want to get it. I got it for my kid, and I got it for my family because of the, I'm out there, doing utility work and all that. So if I get it, my family gets it, and we get to herd immunity, I'm probably going out there. I think we're just itching to get out there right now, and we just need to we just gotta just get there and just get it done.
You guys are really shitty at hypethyticals because I've told you we're at herd immunity, and I've told you
the
date, and I told you we're vaccinated.
So if we're at herd immunity,
which I told you,
yes, I'm going out.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going out.
We're not doing like 70s Woodstock, but yeah, we're going out.
60s.
1969, dude.
69. Yes.
There was Woodstock not in 1999.
Oh, we won't talk about that one. No, that's bad news.
Wendy, are you going out? Are you going to party?
Oh yes, I'm going out. Are you kidding me? I'm itching to go out now. Yeah, I'm still a little hesitant in certain spaces just because I'm not always sure how well people are actually cleaning things and doing things like that. But yeah, I'm dying to go out. I miss it. I like going places, and I spent the better part of the last 5 years traveling to different breweries and checking out all these different places. I would do at least one out of state brewery tour every year, and I have not been out of state since June of 2019. That's crazy.
I mean, it's tough to look
besides Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, but it's tough to look at Facebook memories, and you look at a year ago, 2 years ago, and you see pictures of you hanging with friends, and it's just like, damn, I can't do that.
I got an example for you. My cousin got married. They got married in Florida this couple weekends ago. I'm not gonna take. Yeah, well, in Florida of all places. I mean, I wasn't gonna go. I mean, I got my wife and we have our kid here. I'm not gonna leave a newborn, up here. Barely sleep through the night. So.
Well, what about?
But seeing all that fun, we're ready. Let's go. Let's do it.
What about you, Andy? Because you're coming from an industry where cleanliness is everything. You need to clean when you brew. You need to clean when you serve. You need to clean, at the end of the night. Like, being clean. Are you pumped for the future, or are you hesitant? Like, what's on your mind right now?
I'm definitely hesitant. In the hypothetical, you mentioned Matchbox 20. Is Santana touring with Matchbox 20?
No, you're going to see him with the Goo Goo Dolls. They're opening for Goo Goo Dolls.
Have to be touring with
them. They
them.
haven't done that in years.
I mean, honestly, I wasn't going to that. But, no.
And the Goo Goo Dolls open for them.
But anyways, no, I've always been Mr. Social and love hanging out in groups, meeting new people, all the things. I have zero desire to do any of that. Even like I'm one shot in, and got a little excited and was starting to think about making plans and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? There's a handful of people that I really, really want to see and spend time with. I don't really have any desire of going anywhere unless it's something that I really, really want to check out. And I'll just I'm in the fun position of letting the people come to me, and I can still be Mr. Social, where if my prediction of the new Roaring 20s happens, I'll just be Andy, the guy in the above ground basement who's throwing a great party for everybody. That'll be my thing. But yeah, I don't trust a lot of the places unless I really know the people. No.
I get that.
You know, you guys bring up a good point. I want to obviously mention, if you guys go to mibeermap.com and you download the Michigan Brewery map app, obviously you can find CapNCork Brewery on that app, as well as the rest of the 400 Michigan open and upcoming breweries. This is going to help you when breweries are at 50%. You can still go there. You can check it out. You can sort by patio. So if you want to make sure that there's still, if there's outdoor seating, even if you don't feel comfortable indoors, you want to make sure you're outdoors, you can go and search by outdoor seating on there. It is a great place to go and find out a lot of that information, including finding the address, phone number, and all the socials for all of those breweries. We're going to be wrapping up here momentarily, so I kind of want to ask, not ask. I want to make that blanket statement, because you guys are mentioning, you're a very sociable person. I'm a sociable person. I was talking to you earlier about how I went to, Asheville, and I wound up running into the marketing director of Open Gate Brewery, which is Guinness, and went on a giant brewery tour in Asheville. This was pre-show. We were talking about this, and when I went to a handful of breweries last weekend, I went to One Well, Wax Wings, which is curbside only, Valhalla, and Hand Map. You can't really, I belly up to the bar and I want to strike a conversation with the bartender and the people around me. I don't feel comfortable doing that because I don't want them to feel uncomfortable that some dude is talking to them and potentially spewing his COVID or his germs or whatever. Like, you don't think about that until COVID happens, and I'm going to have to kind of rethink my position when I go to these bars and these breweries by myself. But in the same sense, I miss that feeling of creating memories and creating friendships, because I would never, being the sociable person like Andy is, like me, like Robert, like this whole group right here, we would easily talk to the person, the solo sitting next to us. Hey, what's going on? Who are you? What are you talking about? Getting to know them and learning so much about them, and like, that's what I want back. Like July 11th, after my holiday, July 10th, I'm turning 35 this year. Gifts can be sent to betterondraft@gmail.com. I want to get back to that, to start, meeting more people, because that's just such a, it's something I missed so much. And it's not necessarily going to see friends, because I talk to friends, I hang out, I play games, I see my friends Friday nights when I do this show. Like, those are things that I cherish, but I miss being able to go and, again, belly up to the bar, talk to the person next to me, and learn their story. That's why we do this show. We're here to tell stories. We're here to talk and promote the industry itself. But as it's 7:54, we got about 5 minutes before we got to cut this off, so we don't interrupt our IGTV, which you could follow us on Instagram, Better on Draft. We're going to go around and backwards. Robert, what final question do you have for Andy?
So I was curious about something on your website, because I have been, for being a person who has done home brewing, I have made the mistake of having the Northern Brewer kick. Now, granted, I got that for Christmas from my mom, so that wasn't me. I didn't buy it, but I originally started with buying original equipment from Adventures in Home Brewing, because that is one of my closer stores. Yeah. Now, granted, for me, myself, I consider everything north of M59 up north. So you are by like a mile and a half up north. I'm not sure if I can make it that way. But I was curious, because I've never seen this at Adventures at Home Brewing, that you sell hop plants. And I've not seen, obviously every home brewing store sells hops, but I've never seen the hop plants themselves. So do those come with like kind of a warning that, hey, it's going to take a while before you get any hops out of these things?
So it's a seasonal thing that happens right now. I'm taking orders up until next week, I believe, and so we used to sell rhizomes, which were just the roots of the plants. That's what we always used to do. Those take about 2 to 3 years to establish and get to actually produce hops.
Right.
The plants, you will get hops in the first year. Not a lot, but you will get hops in the first year. And the second year, they're fully producing, and they're local. They're from Sandy Ridge Farms in Zeeland, Michigan, on the west side of the state. They're fully established plants. You pre-order them from us, like right now, like you were mentioning on the website, and then you come on in and pick them up the beginning of May, I believe. And as soon as everything's thawed and all that good stuff, you put them in well-draining soil, full sun, give them something to climb, and you'll definitely have some hops.
Wow, awesome. All right, off to Wendy.
So, my question is real quick. As a brand new home brewer, what recipe which kit do you think I should pick?
Honestly, it's what if there's a specific style of beer you like, we'll be able to get you into that. Like I was saying earlier, I just wouldn't recommend the high alcohol stuff. Like some of the favorites, the German Amber is great, the Blarney Stone, like Ken mentioned. We got them all.
Awesome. Nick.
All right. Last question. Your guilty pleasure beer, it's in your fridge. It's not one yet you brew. What is it? And what are you going to drink after you leave your shop tonight? Guilty pleasure.
So my current guilty pleasure is Negro Modelo. I like a nice, like crisp, dark lager. And I'm not even going to lie. I even put a little bit of lime in it, and it's delicious.
All right. There you go. Ken.
All right, CapNCork, they can find you in what city? I was about to say Macomb Township. Is that right? All right, Macomb Township. Go check them out. Homebrew store. You guys need a reservation to get into the brewery itself, but you can get cans to go at any time. Andy, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. I know you've been standing the entire time, guys. You can find the video betterondraft.tv if you want to watch it live. Of course, you can find it facebook.com/betterondraft, youtube.com/betterondraft, or twitch.tv/bod podcast. We thank Andy so much for joining us. We will be back with the news in about 10 minutes. That's going to do it. Better on Draft podcast. Michigan Series number 9, I believe. No matter what you think of your beer, we think it's Better on Draft. Have a good night.
Peace.